So what we're talking about is really the CMO's dilemma, right? When it comes to social media, what we're seeing for a lot of our enterprise brands around the world is that they're moving from experimentation into operationalizing. And that presents a lot of big problems. And the biggest problem for the CMO is what to budget for next year. So how do they have a better understanding of the value that's being delivered to the enterprise through their social media efforts? So the short story is we think there are kind of 7 big challenges that CMOs face this year going in to make social media as effective as possible in their organizations. When we talk about the 7 big challenges, we're talking about things like moving from a kind of a channel planning mindset into planning around earned, paid, and owned engagement, which is a very different kind of dynamic. We're certainly talking about who does what inside the organization. What are the roles and responsibilities? What does marketing do? What does public relations do? What does customer service do? They're all playing a role in these channels, but we need to define what those roles are. We are talking about what I would call social brand management. So what brand hasn't kind of woken up to the promise of social media, done an audit, and found that there's 25 Facebook pages around the world with their brand on it, half of which, or more than half, were created by well-meaning employees or business leaders around the world. Well, it's time to kind of harness that in, create some guardrails, to use a euphemism, but because we don't want to dampen anyone's entrepreneurial spirit within the organization, but we do want to put some guardrails around it so that we're treating our social brand touch points, or whatever you want to call it, with as much care as we do everything else. We start with a strategy that's built around driving customer advocacy or consumer advocacy, getting people to talk and share about the brands that they love or care about or have been intrigued by, and using traditional media to spark more of that. Not to be an interruptive advertising experience everywhere else they go. The idea of the kind of 360 surround, we're going to hit you at every place you go, those are over. I mean, I think that's over with. Right now it's focusing on, in our world at least, of how can we use traditional media to amplify advocacy. Whenever anybody talks about social media, there's a lot of kind of truisms or cliches that are brought up, and it's about spawning dialogue, it's about talking with your customers, not at them, and the truth is that a lot of those things are kind of true. And what I'm advocating for is we need to, as marketers, get more sophisticated, right? We need to build and adopt systems that actually put that into action. So a new planning model that effectively does spark genuine advocacy is kind of like the responsibility of every marketer today. Building brand loyalty and customer trust through digital marketing, I think, has a lot to do with listening and talking to people. It is the social media side of things that we're doing right now. I believe it's also it is about being credible, reliable, being willing to have a more intimate, in the most innocent sense of that word, relationship with people, and setting your own, periodically setting your own agenda second, which translates in, don't sell all the time. It'll work out. I mean, if you treat people well, if you actually demonstrate that you care about them, if you love customer service. I mean, I love client service. Is every client interaction, a home run for me? No, but I personally love the idea of trying to be of service. It's important to me. It's authentic. I'm not making it up. I'm not putting on my happy face. I think brands need to find out how they can do that authentically and not just put on their happy face.